My sister was praised for getting straight A's while doing nothing. Meanwhile, I was shamed for failing one class. Years later, I became her boss and publicly exposed my parents' hypocrisy at their own celebration in front of everyone they tried to impress. I am a 27-year-old man. My parents expelled me from our home because my academic performance was subpar. Yes, that is accurate. Despite residing in the United States for 2 generations, my parents absorbed nothing about raising children from American parents. My parents genuinely ruined my entire upbringing by obsessing over my academic scores. They hold the conviction that strong scholastic achievements are the sole path to a prosperous existence. To exacerbate the situation, my sister, who is a year my senior, was the top student in her class. Consequently, I faced constant comparisons both at school and at home. The situation was manageable until elementary school. I consistently earned high marks in most subjects. My sister completed elementary school with an A+ and was at the top of her class, whereas I received an A and finished outside the top 10. That marked the onset of my parents' disappointment. In middle school, following each examination result, my parents would sit with my sister's previous year's report card and juxtapose it with mine. As this pattern of comparison commenced, my grades began to decline further. My parents grew increasingly furious with every dip in my academic standing. My grades plummeted from A's in elementary school to B's and C's. My family members had become irrational. Apart from physical discipline, they employed every tactic imaginable to punish me for each grade reduction. They compelled me to kneel for several hours without sustenance or hydration. They would deprive me of food the evening before an exam so I could concentrate on my studies. A month prior to tests, they would confiscate my video games, confine me at home, forbid me from going out to play, and deny me ice cream, chocolate, and any of my preferred meals. Whenever I requested something, their retort would be, "Achieve good grades, then you will receive this." Eventually, I ceased asking for anything, understanding I would not obtain it. My parents operate a small grocery store on a side street. My grandparents immigrated to this nation. My grandfather was a daily wage earner, and my grandmother is a janitor. Both held 2 jobs to support my father and his 2 brothers. My father had to discontinue his education early to provide for his family. He has been employed since he was 11. A similar narrative unfolds within my mother's family. My mother and father toiled diligently in their teenage years and 20s to accumulate savings and establish this small grocery store on the street corner. They genuinely believe that attaining high marks is the only way to escape destitution. We are not as impoverished as they depict. A common Asian custom of saving for a rainy day while experiencing scarcity in the present. While I respect their arduous work and faith in the educational system, they overdid it. School grades are largely inconsequential until you are compelled to repeat a year. And repeating a year is not that dreadful. It merely sets you back a year compared to your peers, but that is acceptable. By tormenting a child at such a tender age, they were setting me up for failure. As a child, I genuinely endeavored to match my sister's academic performance, but I was unable to. Unlike my sister, I struggled to retain information efficiently. However, I excelled at calculations that did not involve rote memorization. But as my parents' punishments intensified, I began to resist. I intentionally skipped classes and frequented the playground. I would fill my examination papers with silly jokes and song lyrics to provoke them even further. They grounded me by confining me to a basement with my books, releasing me only upon completion of my assignments. On weekends and holidays, I was not permitted to play outdoors. All my video games and comic books were confiscated, and new ones were never acquired. Yet I was a resourceful child. Regardless of their efforts, I managed to slip away. My parents departed for the grocery shop in the morning and only returned at night. Thus, I spent the entire day playing outside. When my parents discovered my clandestine escapes in their absence, they began bringing me along to the store on weekends and during summer breaks. This was intended as a penalty for me, but it surprisingly became something I quite enjoyed. I liked interacting with patrons, advising them on which cereal brand to purchase, and managing the checkout counter. This did not sit well with my parents. They did not wish for me to operate the grocery store. They desired me to become a doctor or an engineer. Anything less than that would bring disgrace to an Asian household. One day, I casually remarked that I aspired to be a salesperson because I was adept at closing deals. My parents were horrified to hear this, as they believed that only uneducated individuals worked in sales. Since they were investing so much money in my schooling, I should pursue a respectable profession such as a doctor or engineer. All of this persisted until I completely exasperated them by receiving an F grade in my first year of high school. My parents could not fathom that I had to repeat a year. They had exhausted their disciplinary measures. They erupted in anger, as if I had committed a heinous crime. There was nothing left to punish me with. Aside from striking me, they seemed to have tried everything to get me back on track. The verbal abuse and emotional anguish reached their peak. They declared I had brought shame upon the household, and they could not endure the embarrassment I caused the family. They expelled me from the house, informing me I was on my own and should never return home, even if I perished from starvation and cold. I was devastated. Although I was a rebellious child, I never contemplated abandoning home. I was unprepared for this. My parents did not permit me to socialize, so I had few friends to seek support from. I was either confined at home or taken to the grocery store to assist. When the initial terror of living on the streets subsided, I felt liberated. I experienced such relief at being able to do whatever I desired. My first night, I slept on a park bench in the open. The following day, I ventured downtown in search of a sales position. I knew I possessed sales acumen. I went from establishment to establishment inquiring about any available openings. After submitting applications at over a dozen businesses, I secured a position at a beauty supply store. It was not straightforward either. I lacked qualifications or prior experience, but the store owner urgently needed a staff member, so he assigned me the task of selling an expensive lipstick as an additional item to a customer who was only there for night cream. I am unsure how, but I managed to accomplish it. The owner believed I was sufficiently enthusiastic and personable to sell cosmetics to young women, so he hired me. The remuneration was meager, but he provided a place to sleep. Later, as sales surged, I requested a commission on each transaction I completed. That marked the commencement of my journey to becoming a prosperous entrepreneur. My parents believed that compelling me to work at their grocery store was a form of punishment. They had no inkling it would prove so advantageous to me. It provided me with practical, real-world experience. I wish they had recognized my potential and understood that hands-on experience is far more valuable than thoughtlessly cramming theoretical knowledge. Subsequently, I changed employment to secure a better income. One of my employers even offered to cover my educational tuition, but I declined. I had a different ambition in mind. I wanted to establish my own enterprise. At the age of 21, I founded my own company, which offers support and sales services to other small businesses. My company facilitates sales for other product-based enterprises. We generate sales and revenue for them, and they provide us with a substantial commission. My company's ventures span all product categories, from credit cards to insurance, cosmetics, and books. We maintain business relationships with a diverse range of companies. It did not flourish overnight or within a single year. It took over 5 years to achieve stability. I launched it with 5 employees and 1 client selling mattresses and pillows. We now employ 200 sales agents who assist over 50 companies in selling thousands of products. Enough of this digression. To get to the point, my mother has been pursuing me for the past few weeks. She began following me on Facebook and Instagram. I maintain an open account, and she is perusing my profile, liking my old photographs and posts. I am uncertain if she is attempting to gain my attention, or if she is inadvertently zooming in on my image. One thing is certain. They are captivated by my lifestyle. They thought I was a failure who would never achieve anything in life without respectable grades. But here I am, earning a 6-figure income monthly. A week ago, she messaged me stating she missed me and invited me to return home. I viewed her message and marked it as seen. She is commending me and expressing how pleased she is to witness her son's success in life. She is now urging me to pay her a visit. Despite my attempts to disregard her messages, I could not stop contemplating them and my childhood trauma. I genuinely wish to retaliate against them for all the humiliation they inflicted upon me. I want to go home and demonstrate my success to them. However, my fiancé believes that I should avoid them and not become ensnared in their emotional manipulation. She is convinced that they will eventually use guilt to extort funds from me. What do you all advise I should do? Update number 1. Hello everyone. This is going to be quite amusing. Despite my girlfriend's reservations, I desired to showcase my achievements to my parents. So I paid them a visit. My father was not at home, but my mother and sister were awaiting me. My father remains unaware of my prosperity. He believes I am acquiring money by deceiving innocent individuals and wishes no association with me. My mother apologized to me and claimed that I had to endure hardship because of my father's antiquated beliefs about the importance of good grades for life. It was comical how my mother used my father as a scapegoat while simultaneously criticizing me. I pointed out that she was stricter and more punitive towards me. She dismissed it, asserting she was merely obeying my father's directives as a devoted wife. When I attempted to challenge her again, She chuckled loudly and declared it was an ancient tale and that I should move on, suggesting we should reconnect as a happy family, it seemed. I inquired about my sister's circumstances. She stated that she possessed a master's degree in literature, but was struggling to secure employment as a teacher due to inadequate communication and social proficiencies. Although I recognized the reason for her poor interpersonal skills, I feigned interest and asked her why she could not find a job despite her exceptional academic record. She attributed her failures to our parents. She has essentially spent her entire life confined to a room studying to appease and impress our parents. She pushed herself to her limits and completely lost herself in literature. She was a year my senior and I knew how isolated she used to be at school. She barely had any companions. My mother refused to allow her to have any, believing that Caucasian children were poor students and a detrimental influence. Do you perceive an issue here? Despite working so diligently her entire life, she is unable to find employment. Even if she is hired based on her qualifications, her lack of communication and social skills cost her the position. Witnessing her predicament, I am content that I was a nonconformist. Otherwise, I would have met a similar fate. They also desired to keep me secluded, preventing me from interacting with other children, and instead focusing on my schoolwork. How mistaken they were. My sister joined me in lambasting my mother for her deficient parenting abilities. My mother began weeping and very shrewdly shifted all accountability onto my father. After we finished blaming my mother for our dreadful childhood, I asked her why she had contacted me. She went on and on, expressing how thrilled she was to witness my accomplishments. The truth was she had no comprehension of what I was doing. As I previously stated, to an Asian parent the definition of success is a doctor, engineer, or a high-paying position in a bank. At the very least, they do not grasp entrepreneurship. To them, operating any business is synonymous with running a grocery shop, which they disdain. Sitting in that house evokes so many memories from my childhood, when my parents convinced me that I would end up on the streets as a failure. They even misled me into believing that I was mentally deficient, and that there was something inherently wrong with me that prevented me from achieving an A+. Oh, I neglected to mention it. My parents even took me to a therapist because they thought I had difficulty concentrating on my studies. After 2 or 3 sessions, the therapist reprimanded my parents for excessively pressuring me to study, asserting that I was a perfectly normal child with a typical IQ for my age. My girlfriend wagered that my mother had invited me to solicit money. She lost the bet because my mother did not ask for any funds, but her demeanor suggests that a monetary request is imminent. Since then, my mother has been consistently checking in on me, and whenever her text message appears, my girlfriend places a $1 bet that it is about money. Laugh out loud. I am winning every single wager because my mother has not yet requested the money, but I believe I am about to lose the bet because my mother has invited me to dinner this weekend. I know she is attempting to construct a favorable image of herself before asking for anything. I just received a text from her saying she is planning a dinner for me this weekend. I will provide an update in my next post. I must depart immediately. Farewell. Update number 2. Hello everyone. I exacted my sweet retribution on my family. I do not believe they will contact me again after this public humiliation. In my previous post, I mentioned my mother's text inviting me to supper. I replied stating I was occupied and could not attend. Yes, I was being difficult. Since she insisted, I questioned her why she was being so cordial to me, given that my father still believes I am acquiring money unlawfully. She explained that my father was arranging the meal for me as a gesture of reconciliation. She claims that my father is proud of me and wishes to apologize to me in person. I responded, "What do you mean by organizing? It's just the 4 of us, correct?" She said, "No, they are inviting all their close friends and relatives who reside nearby." I answered, "Certainly, I will be there." I could not have obtained a more opportune moment to avenge my childhood suffering. My mother requested that I arrive promptly and dress appropriately. My rebellious nature was ignited. I wore my workout sweatshirt with hiking shorts and a cap. I arrived 2 hours late. This is a significant transgression for an Asian parent, as wearing shorts at a social gathering is considered an offense. My mother repeatedly called me, but I did not answer. I essentially texted a couple of times saying I would be delayed, offering no reason or explanation. I am certain that would have exasperated my parents. They have a propensity for presenting themselves as flawless individuals. If any guests arrived at our house, my parents would spend at least 2 days sanitizing every area of the house, compiling a list of culinary items to be served to the guests, and arranging everything in its precise location. The guests would be served with the finest china set. And if they stayed overnight, they would be provided with the best bed linens, pillows, and all other amenities. They asserted that it is our custom to treat our guests with the utmost reverence, although a portion of it is exaggerated for social approval. My parents had reserved a rooftop section of the restaurant when I arrived in such casual attire. I was given a scrutinizing look because I earned more than everyone else present. That expression was swiftly replaced with a feigned smile of admiration. My parents were also displeased, although they did not articulate it. They embraced me, proposed a toast to me, and extolled my virtues. This was the first time my father had ever embraced me. Not comforting at all. I felt resentment. The way they behaved made me question if I was the antagonist who had always presumed they were in error. They are deceivers. The hall was teeming with people, and for a brief moment, I considered quietly enduring it, consuming my meal and departing. But the manner in which they paraded my achievements alongside their own irritated me. They were boasting about my accomplishments, affluence, and lavish lifestyle. And imagine this? They were claiming full credit for shaping me into a virtuous human being. My outspoken aunt interjected and exclaimed, "Didn't you cast him out of the house?" I burst into laughter and applauded her audacity. My parents' faces flushed with mortification, but they quickly masked it, stating that it was a method to guide me onto the correct path, and that it was due to their discipline that I was able to succeed in life. I lost my composure when they uttered this. I declared, "That's right, everyone. I attribute my entire success to my toxic parents. And do you know what the most beneficial decision they ever made for me was? I was expelled from my home and compelled to reside on the streets." Yes, that is accurate. You are so confident that you knew I would achieve great things. It is rather amusing because I recall a different version. Did you not used to say that I would end up a failure, homeless, a drug addict, or worse, a criminal? Remarkable. Remember how you all denied me a family vacation as a punishment for my poor grades? You used to confine me at home for an entire week with so little food. I was locked in the basement without proper ventilation for hours, and was instructed to complete my lessons there. You are correct. All of this was essential to make me a better person. Perhaps everyone in this room should do the same to their child to ensure their success. You see? This is the secret formula for achievement, you know? My mother attempted to intervene, but I disregarded her and continued my tirade. My sister tried to pacify me by caressing my arms, but I was uncontrollable. My parents were in tears, and they would have preferred demise over this ignominy in front of the entire community. However, I am indifferent to their reputation. My sister, who was only a year my senior, was also weeping as she stood beside me. Some of you commented on how I could harbor affection for my sister when she never defended me as an older sibling. But I do not fault her. She was a child just like me, and my parents inflicted more harm upon her than upon me. At least I was able to rebel and enjoy my life, to sneak out to play and forge a better existence for myself. I have offered her a position in my company, and she has undertaken personality development courses, but it has not significantly aided her. She has lost her resolve by submitting to our parents, and she has not had an opportunity to relish her childhood. I suggested that she commence working in my company and cultivate some soft skills before deciding on a career path. I have severed all ties with my parents, instructed my mother not to contact me ever again, and that I was only speaking to her to exact vengeance upon them. I have blocked her. I intend to contact my sister, who congratulated me on exposing our parents' true nature. She claimed that this was the most effective retribution I could inflict upon my parents because they are unconcerned about money or anything else apart from their standing as ideal parents within the community. After that dinner evening, some of my family friends and relatives reached out to me, expressing their sorrow upon hearing about my struggles. I informed them that I did not reveal my parents' truth to elicit sympathy. I simply wished for everyone to understand that cornering your child for grades would cause more detriment than benefit, and we serve as examples of inadequate parenting. Moving on to the next narrative. Story 2. My husband engaged in infidelity, feigned forgiveness, then made me experience his sentiments, and now he is abandoning me for the woman who used to evoke my jealousy. I, 30F, was unfaithful to my husband, 27M, who is handling it well, but I believe he resents me. I acknowledge I committed something terrible and dishonorable, and when I could no longer bear the guilt, I terminated my affair and confessed everything to my husband. He became more distressed and despondent than angry, and I implored him not to divorce me. I suggested counseling, therapy, and even permitting him to engage in intimacy with other women, but he was uninterested. He stated he wished to attempt to resolve matters, and I eagerly committed to being the most exemplary wife a man could desire. I prepared his favorite dishes, left him affectionate notes, and acquired new lingerie to entice him. His reactions are, at best, minimal. He smiles and thanks me, but he has never declared his love for me since my disclosure. He rarely initiates or appreciates anything, and I essentially have to impose myself upon him despite his objections. We occasionally discuss this, but I believe I have still lost the man I adore. His demeanor towards me feels very artificial, and nothing alters his facade. I can be playful, mournful, irate, or seductive, and his reaction is consistently this foolish smile and courteous words. He was so emotional and genuine before everything transpired. I desire him to articulate his genuine emotions with me. Even if he despises me, I still love him immensely. What can I do to change this? Is this a deceptive post? If not, please provide some details. How long have you been together? And how long did the affair persist? Who is the other man? A colleague. We have been married for 5 years. My affair lasted a few months and was with a client. Independent farmer 62 to 8. Okay, thank you. What do you mean by terminating the affair? Is this individual still a client? Do you need to maintain professional contact with him? Are you seeing a therapist? Do you know why you strayed? I ended my relationship with the client, transferred his contract to a coworker, and have been undergoing individual therapy ever since. I am unsure why I did all of this, but my body felt as though it was on autopilot. Update 1. He is aware I cheated. We did not separate, and I implored him not to divorce me and allow me to rectify this. He consented, but his behavior since my confession has been largely detached. As I mentioned in my last piece, I exert myself to be the ideal wife he could ask for. I prepare his favorite meals, procure him gifts, and satisfy him intimately every night. He simply smiles and thanks me. He never shouts at me, but I can perceive his icy indifference beneath that politeness. When I telephoned him when he was out, he answered only once, and I could hear a woman giggling in the background. I inquired what was occurring, and he politely informed me that it was none of my concern. I am beginning to suspect he is being unfaithful to me, which is painful. If he told me, I would endeavor to accept it. After all, I deserve it. But he will not tell me, instead shutting me out. A mutual acquaintance informed me she saw him in a vehicle with an unfamiliar woman, and it felt like a dagger to my heart. She said she could not describe her precisely because she wore large sunglasses, but she recognized my husband due to his distinctive preference in neckties. They were conversing, but from their posture, it appeared they were holding hands or one of them was touching the other's lap. I do not know what course of action to take. If he is having an affair, I deserve it. But I need to know. The uncertainty is excruciating. Should I confront him or attempt to ascertain more information? Update 2. He abandoned me. I followed your advice and pleaded with him to speak with me. He was reluctant, but after I wept and screamed so much that I vomited, he softened and helped me clean up while we conversed. I questioned him if he was cheating on me, and he stated he was speaking to someone but did not engage in any physical intimacy with her. I asked if she was the woman my friend saw him with, and he said no. That was another woman he encountered at his workplace a month ago. I asked him how he could, and he said I gave him permission and he did nothing but unburden his problems regarding our situation with her. But he pretended he was having a full affair so I could experience what he felt, especially since, according to him, I neglected him and made it clear I was cheating on him. He stated he was hurting, and I was practically rubbing it in his face. I told him I was not doing it intentionally, but he said it was worse because I did not care. He claimed that everything I did after confessing was meaningless and led him to believe that I am avaricious, self-centered, and lacking in self-respect. I asked him if we could work on me and our marriage, but he replied we could seek counseling to resolve issues, but the marriage was over. He stated he desires no harm to me and decided to end his deception because he could not bear to see the woman he once loved suffer like this. But he added, I am no longer that woman. I began sobbing again, and he embraced me. But when I pleaded if we could work this out, he continued reiterating, no. I asked him what he was going to do when he moved out, and he said he had already secured another apartment. I inquired if he planned to reside with that woman, and he answered, no, but she was close enough. I questioned him how he could choose a complete stranger he met a month ago over his wife of 5 years. And he answered, his wife of 5 years no longer exists, so he had to choose between 2 strangers. And that woman impressed him significantly more. I told him he was foolish and that he could not have known that this woman would most likely exploit and discard him. He became angry and declared she was definitively superior to me. He said he will not inform our families that our marriage ended because I cheated, but because we grew apart, and that he will leave the house to me as long as I facilitate a smooth divorce. But if I attempt to exploit him financially, prolong the process, or cause any complications, he will disclose everything I did and ruin me and my reputation. This transpired yesterday, and he has already packed virtually all his belongings. I cannot cease weeping, and I cannot believe this is happening. It is dreadful and unjust. One final comment from the OP. You are correct that I am flawed, but he is also culpable. He never genuinely wished to mend this, and he manipulated me for months before abandoning me. Despite our past grievances, I desire him back. As for his new companion, I do not believe she will be a suitable match for him. Update 3. I received divorce documents today. This feels like a nightmare. I keep telling myself it is not real, and I will awaken. My husband departed 2 weeks ago, ostensibly to live with another woman, but I continued to monitor him, had some acquaintances inform me of his activities, and there appeared to be no other woman at all. I hoped he was simply gathering his thoughts and would return to me. But today he did it. He instructed me to be served. I do not want to believe he is finished with us. I love him so much and miss him daily.